What's one thing that the podcasting community and the live streaming community doesn't know about you, but you'd really like them to know?
That's a deep question. I would say that every time I go on camera, every time I go on mic, I'm terrified. And people refuse to believe it because I've been told by people who've interviewed me, I love having T on the show because he does all the work. You ask him a question and then you can sit back. You can prop your feet up because he's going to go. He is just wind him up and let him do it. And it's that fear factor that keeps me on my toes.
Hey everybody, I'm Ken Newhouse, and I'm going to welcome you to the Get Clients Now podcast, the show where high-growth consultants and professionals come to access the newest and most effective methods and systems for online marketing, advanced sales and persuasive communication strategies, and automated marketing funnels. And if you're wondering if the Get Clients Now podcast can help you get more high-value clients, enjoy more sales, build a massive tribe, and make more money, you're absolutely going to love this show.
Newhouse's work completely blows everything else that we've ever done with Google out of the water.
I have been looking for a way to grow my presence online, and what I've viewed from Newhouse's work was something that certainly is faster than anything I've seen before.
He says he's going to do something and he does it. He does it in the time frame that he says he's going to do it in. It's exciting when you talk about the results that you're going to get, and you can believe his word because he follows it up with action.
The Newhouse is direct, he's to the point, he tells you what's on his mind, and he backs his words up. From what I know now, from working with him, he's passionate about his work, and he backs it up 100%.
What I like best is you offer something that no one else has out there, which is a pretty comprehensive approach about marketing a system.
If somebody asks me, should they use Newhouse's team? Absolutely, because you're going to get the important information that you need very, very quickly.
On the internet, on the different marketing techniques, I've never experienced anything like this.
I would definitely recommend Ken Newhouse for someone who's serious about growing their business. I think that your results based on the numbers would at least double the sales in a very short time frame.
Hey everybody, Ken Newhouse here, and I want to welcome you to this episode of the Get Clients Now podcast. Today's episode number 360, and on today's show, we're going to be talking to the Godfather of podcasting. That's Mr. T. Morris. We're going to be talking to T about live streaming and why it's something you might want to consider using if you want a profitable, successful business in 2020. Now, just to give you a quick backstory, T is the best-selling author of Podcasting for Dummies, Twitch for Dummies, and Discord for Dummies. He's got a vast array of experience, not only with podcasting, but with live streaming, which is going to be the subject of our conversation today. Now, when I mention live streaming, you might be thinking, why in the world would I ever want to do live video for my business, Ken? You know, admittedly, live video can be unpredictable, and oftentimes it takes an enormous amount of effort to produce. I get it. I totally understand, because I'm actually thinking the same thing. And while setting up a live stream for your business might not sound like a viable idea at first, I want you to listen to what T has for you today, and you just might discover an effective, affordable solution that you can use to get clients now, to grow your business, and keep it profitable, which right now, in the midst of the COVID-19 recession or economy that we're in, is more important than ever. Now, here's why I say that, and here's why I believe that to be true. The rate at which live streaming, specifically in the business setting, is growing, it is utterly staggering. And according to Statista, I think I'm saying that right, live streaming is growing 400% faster than video on demand. Now, those stats are not simply about the number of businesses using live streaming. Listen to this. This is more important. Those stats reference the rate at which the end user, the people in your marketplace, the people who buy your products and services, are consuming videos. 400% faster, the growth of live streaming, people watching live videos than video on demand. It's growing 1,200% faster. Live streaming is growing 1,200% faster than short form videos. Things like commercials, short form video sales letters, things like that. So if you're looking for a way to stand out in the marketplace, a way to set yourself apart so you can become the most sought after, most in-demand brand, thought leader, or expert in your niche, live streaming might be the solution you've been hoping for. So if you're ready for the adventure of your business life, an adventure where you're about to discover if live streaming is right for you, let's go ahead and welcome T. Morris in on the show. And if you're ready, let's roll. Hey everybody, Ken Newhouse here, and I'm going to welcome you to this episode of the Get Clients Now podcast. Today, I've got Mr. T. Morris. T is the best-selling author of multiple books, including Podcasting for Dummies, Twitch for Dummies, as well as Discord for Dummies, as well as being the first official gamer that we've ever had on the Get Clients Now podcast. So, T, on behalf of myself and the members of the Get Clients Now Nation, I want to welcome you to the show. How are you doing today?
I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the fact that you actually refer to me as a gamer. Concerning my age and and the way I play, I'm just going to quote my own stream, which is, I'm not a gamer that writes, I'm a writer that games. And that's kind of how I work.
Well, obviously, Podcasting for Dummies, I checked. I think it's probably sold more than any other podcasting book. Actually, maybe more than the top 2 or 3 podcasting books. Yours is one of the top 2 or 3. It's been out for, 12, 14, 15? I mean, it's been out for a long time.
It's been out since the beginning. In fact, if you've got what's now the collector's item, which is the first edition, you'll notice that when we talk about iTunes, we're talking about iTunes as in it has just started to recognize podcasts. And so that gives you an idea how long I have been involved with the Podcasting for Dummies title. As far as, is it the best-selling title of all the podcasting titles put together? I would double down and say yes. And I would say that across all 4 editions, most podcasting books don't make it to a 4th edition. And I know I can speak for Wiley Publishing. They've told me that they've had a lot of books that have had a comeback, a renaissance, if you will. And the 3rd edition of Podcasting for Dummies has been the biggest one in the company's history. And when you consider the 40 years that, and I will say that again, 40 years that Wiley Publishing has been creating dummies books. For me to be told that, I'm humbled, I'm thrilled, and I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm passionate about this subject. Right now, my partner, Chuck Tomasi, and I are working on the 4th edition of Podcasting for Dummies, and we couldn't be happier with its evolution.
Yeah, that's what you said. The first one I had was the 2nd edition. Then I got the 3rd edition. And then when we talked originally, you turned me on to this whole concept of, because I said, hey, listen, I really want to talk about using video in the podcasting. And you said, hey, let's talk about live streaming because that's going to be like the newest. It's not going to be, it is the new thing. And when I did the research and looked online, you and I just talked about this, live streaming hasn't caught up to video on demand yet. It's very close, but the growth rate year by year, and this was on Statista that I found this, if I pronounce that correctly, the growth rate is 400% faster for live streaming, people watching live streams, than it is video on demand, which tells me as a business owner and a podcaster, hey, this is something that I need to take a serious look at. So who do I want to talk to? Someone who's a leading authority. And lo and behold, I have the leading authority when it comes to podcasting and live streaming. So thanks for doing the show today. I really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I love talking about this. I'm not as well. I would be the first one to say I'm a pioneer of podcasting. I'm far from a pioneer of streaming. I am one of the new wave of streamers that is entering into this. But I will say that Twitch for Dummies is the first mainstream book about live streaming that has been published. Most of the books that you'll find out about live streaming, it's 2 types of books. One, they're either self-pubbed and they're about how to make money at gaming, or the other one is how to make money at YouTube or Twitch. And that's not what Twitch for Dummies is. Twitch for Dummies is, if you don't know how to do this, I'm here to help you. And we start with the console, we work up to the PC, and then by the end of the book, we're like, okay, now that you know how to stream, here's the good news. You do not have to be a gamer to be a streamer. You can stream anything you want, and more businesses are starting to do that.
The internet, the continuous advancements in technology, and now a COVID-19 economy has made business hyper competitive. Money is tight, and while the economy is already showing signs of recovery, most businesses continue to struggle. And actually, when I said earlier that you're the leading expert, I meant in the context of you're like the grandfather of podcasting. So let's just get that right up front. So I give you the title of that. Not the grandfather, excuse me. The Godfather. Hey, you and I are this. You and I bet I'm older than you. I'm 54. I will be 55 in August.
You got me by 3 years. You got me by 3 years. But let's be honest. In internet terms, we are ancient. We are old as dirt. But that being said, it's funny you should say I'm the godfather of podcasting because when I first started podcasting, I was known for podcasting fiction. And it was me, a guy named Scott Sigler, and a guy named J.C. Hutchins. And we actually were called by some people as the Rat Pack of podcasting.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine. I'm Sinatra. No. I said, I'm Dino. Siggy is Sinatra and Hutchins is Sammy Davis. And we ran with it. And yeah, and man, it was just, oh God, it was, you just brought back some good memories. I don't even know if I call myself the godfather of podcasting. I give that honor to Adam Curry. And you and I are old enough to remember, we're the MTV generation. Yep. It's that Adam Curry, the same guy who was on MTV with the big 80s hair. He's one of the pioneers of podcasting. And I was part of the early vanguard. When I tell people when I started podcasting, I was talking to someone a few years ago, and I said, so how long have you been podcasting? And he kind of sat back, big grin. He goes, I've been podcasting a long time. I've been podcasting since 2010. And I went, really? And he was like, and how long have you been podcasting? And I said, I've been podcasting since January 2005. I'm one of the authors of Podcasting for Dummies. The guy got real quiet. He reached into his coat, pulled out a card and said, would you like to speak at our event? So, like I said, I have an extensive background in podcasting. Twitch and streaming on a whole is something that I've been doing. I'll have my 3rd anniversary coming up as a streamer. And what I find fascinating about the people that I've met is, one, they are saying the same things that we said about podcasting like 15 years ago.
For most business owners, keeping your business profitable and growing has become more difficult than ever. As a result, more and more business owners and professionals are looking for methods they can use to capture the attention of more of their ideal prospects, build a unique platform, attract followers and fans, and become the most in-demand brand or thought leader in the marketplace, so they can drive sales and become more profitable.
They talk about the community. They talk about support. They talk about how everybody's giving. And that's true. But I think one thing that streaming has going for it that podcasting did not. Podcasting was so new, nobody knew how to monetize it. But you look at Facebook, you look at Twitch, you look at YouTube, they figured it out very early and they said, okay, here's how we're going to do it. And now you have real trailblazers, people like Ninja, like Dr. Lupo, like Markiplier, like even some of the bad boys, PewDiePie and others. They are the ones that have been blazing the trail. And even though they're blazing the trail, speaking as a podcaster, I don't think they know exactly what kind of trail they're blazing. What I'm seeing now is I'm seeing commercial industries stepping in and going, all right, how can we make this work? Whether it's how to sponsor these different streams or more to the point, how do we become part of this community?
Right.
And a really good example is Verizon. Verizon's been doing a stream on Twitch since the COVID-19 crisis where they've been bringing in big artists and they do live concerts. They do streams of all different types, specifically as entertainment content. And I'm seeing that happen more and more. I'm seeing businesses starting to use streaming as a terrific conduit for here are products we have coming down the pike. And where'd they pick that up? They picked it up from the video game industry. And I think now I'm seeing more and more non-gaming industries looking at Twitch, looking at what the gaming industry is doing and saying, how can we make this work? And now politicians are even starting to get into Twitch as well, which is really smart because guess what? It's a younger demographic.
Yeah, it is.
So now they're starting to reach the younger voters. I think there's so much potential in streaming, and the jump from being a streamer to a podcaster is very easy to make. Very easy.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you could, and just to show that I have done my research here, you mentioned Ninja. Ninja is a person on the Twitch platform. I think, if I'm correct, it's got like half the total number of people that are on the platform, like 14 million followers. Is that close?
Yes. And he actually last year, this is why I'm currently pushing Wiley Publishing to do a second edition of Twitch for Dummies. Ninja made the jump from Twitch over to Mixer, which is another platform. And yes, if you want to come out and say it, yes, it is a competitor of Twitch. Twitch, as a lot of people know, is owned by Amazon. Mixer is owned by Microsoft. And yes, in Twitch for Dummies, I mentioned Ninja and I mentioned his numbers and I mentioned his presence on Twitch. And it was huge. He has now taken that over to Mixer and he is now the face of Mixer. But over on Twitch, you still have plenty of people that are, doing what they do and they're doing it very well.
All right, well, let's do this. Let's cover the first couple questions that I ask all my guests. Take a minute or two. These are not real in-depth, but it'll give people, I guess, a better flavor, a better feel for where you're coming from. Take a minute or two T, give us your backstory. How in the world did you become a podcaster? And then from there, what really triggered the whole move to, in addition to podcasting? Because I know you host multiple podcasts. These are top-ranked podcasts. When I referred to you as the Godfather earlier, the point in referring to you as one of the godfathers of podcasting is how many different people have you coached and helped who are now top-ranked podcasters? I mean, you've helped dozens of people. You know, I saw that on your website. I've read some stuff. So I know you've really worked with a lot of the big players in the podcasting community today. And, you know, we've got 750,000 podcasts out there. A lot of the top players are students of yours. So I just wanted to throw that in. If you guys can't see, for the listeners who are watching the show, Mr. T-Man is a lover of the feline species. That's so cool.
This is my gamer cat. He has his, believe it or not, this little guy, this little survivor right here. He's an animal rescue. Benedict basically made a reputation for himself being my gamer cat, my in-studio cat. And I finally said, okay, well, he needs a camera. So I've given him his own camera. Sweet. And not only is he a celebrity on my stream, if I happen to make a mistake, because it does happen even to godfathers like me, if I leave my intermission screen up, people will tell me in chat, T, you're in intermission, T, you're in intermission, T, you're in intermission. If I leave it on the Gamer Cat, if I go back to my game, but I happen to leave it on Gamer Cat, nobody says a word. Because it's Gamer Cat, you know? So yeah, big fan of the feline species. Anyway, So my backstory, well, it all started with a couple of friends of mine who were also early adopters in podcasting. A guy named Michael Armenenge and another guy named Evo Terra. And Evo Terra is familiar because he was one of the first authors of Podcasting for Dummies. He and I did the first edition together. And since then, I've gone around the world talking about podcasting. I still go, you know, whenever people want to know about podcasting or social media in general, I will pack my bags and go. And I have run workshops. I have run regular classes. I've lost count how many people I've trained in podcasting. Right off the top of my head, I know that I've worked with people because I'm in the DC area, I worked with people at the Smithsonian, at NOAA. I've worked with people at the CIA. I mean, I've worked a lot of different places. And I have to start from the beginning. You know, I always start that journey from the beginning. It's like, okay, let's first off get the first thing out of the way that you need to know about podcasting. You do not need an iPod to listen to podcasts. And that's how long I've been podcasting. As I was doing all these different things in podcasting, a friend of mine, he does get a mention in the book. He was like, T, you need to get into Twitch. And he was telling me this back in 2014, 2015. He was like, you need to get into Twitch. But before I did it, I started watching other streamers just to see what it was like. But I was floating around and I said, I could do this. I mean, I have a background in broadcasting. I have a background in theater. I could do this. So I went live when Destiny 2 went live. And that's when I really, instead of being the casual streamer, I had a schedule. I kept it. I showed up and I played the game. And so you learn how to multitask. You learn the gift of gab. And that was also the fascinating thing, was that I was going through the same growing pains that I did with podcasting. I was now going through it with Twitch. And another inspiration, as I'm learning all these different things and building on my confidence and building on my stream.
In an effort to stand out in the marketplace, where they can more easily differentiate themselves from the competition and demonstrate their value propositions, business owners began using podcasting and video on demand to drive sales and to generate profit. These platforms and methods for business growth remain viable and important to the success and profitability of your business, but the research is clear. The marketplace craves live engagement. And live streaming is one of the vehicles that's catapulting early adopters to the top of the marketplace and transforming them into brand leaders.
I was seeing a lot of people going to streams and saying, how do I start? How do I start? How do I start? And one particular streamer, his name is Aura, A-U-R-A. Aura was talking on his stream and he said, yeah, I get asked this all the time and I don't mind answering it. And we love to talk about how we start streaming because we don't have a book like, say, Twitch for Dummies. Maybe we should have a book that's Twitch for Dummies. And I did. I just felt my shoulders sag and go, oh, no, are you? Because I just finished the third edition of Podcasting for Dummies and I was in no mood to pick up a new Dummies project. But I pitched it. And months later, I get a phone call for the Dummies people saying, so you pitched to us Twitch for Dummies. still want to do it? And I said, yeah, I'd love to do it. And that's what I tell people. When you read the books, Podcast for Dummies, Twitch for Dummies, Discord for Dummies, those aren't necessarily how-to books. Those are my growing pains books. They're like my scrapbooks of here are the mistakes I made. Here are the triumphs I made. Here's how they can work for you.
Right.
And I tell people flat out, if you read any of those books to get rich quick, those are not the books for you. My topic will always be, here's how you create quality content. Because without quality, no one's going to want to monetize your content if it's crap. And so my books, Podcast for Dummies, Twitch for Dummies, Discord for Dummies, focus on the quality, on how to make it the best content you can possibly make it.
So T, let me ask you this. Just take a minute or so and tell me what's one thing about you that the community, whether it's the podcasting community, actually both. What's one thing that the podcasting community and the live streaming community doesn't know about you, but you'd really like them to know?
That's a deep question. I would say that every time I go on camera, every time I go on mic, I'm terrified. There's raw terror. And people refuse to believe it. Because, like, I've been told by people who have interviewed me, I love having T on the show because he does all the work. You ask him a question, and then you can sit back. You can prop your feet up because he's going to go. He is just wind him up, let him do it. When I tell people I'm terrified, every time the camera goes live, every time the mic is hot, I'm absolutely trembling with fear. And it's that fear factor that keeps me on my toes. It keeps me aware. I'll know when I make a mistake. I'll know how to backtrack it if I do make a mistake, but I never get complicit. I'll be comfortable, but I'm not going to be lazy about it. I want to make sure that I am well aware of what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, and how it's coming across. But that is something that I want people to know about me, is that fear that you feel the first time you ever go live or the first time you ever record your first podcast. I'm like that, and I've been doing this for nearly 2 decades.
That's cool that you said that. So, T, you and I talked earlier. I mentioned earlier that the number of people watching live streaming online is growing exponentially as compared to video on demand with long form videos, which is like 400% more than long form video. And live streaming is growing 1,200% faster than short form video, which I guess is like commercials and things like that. But from a business standpoint, let's segue into this. From a business standpoint, whether somebody has a podcast or not, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to encourage our listeners to do, our fans and our members of the Get Clients Now Nation to do, is to consider podcasting. But from the standpoint of people who have a business and they're putting out content, they're writing their blog or whatever, they make videos on YouTube. What is the benefit? What is let me think of the word I want to use here. What's the motivation for me, the business owner, to want to live stream in 2020?
The big motivation is that live interaction with your public. When you get into live streaming, it is no different than podcasting in that it is the long haul. You are not, as I like to tell people, if you're expecting to get on a stream or start up a stream and within a month or 2 months, you're going to start pulling down ninja style numbers or Dr. Lupo style numbers, or even more humbly, She Snaps numbers or something along those lines, you're not. These people have done the grind. They have pushed. They have clawed their way to get these numbers. Nobody gets these numbers overnight. And live streaming is hard. It's even harder than podcasting, because with podcasting, sometimes you make content, you create a show, you send it out there, you get really excited, then you hear crickets in response. And you go, wow, I must be sending out content to avoid. Nobody's listening to my content. It's even tougher with live streaming because you are forced to deal with the numbers in real time. I have found ways of hiding them, but I still have to contend with them. Every time I finish a stream, I get a statement that says, here are your stream stats. And nothing is more humbling than doing a stream, pouring your heart into it, and you're watching your numbers tick down until finally you get a big fat 0 as people watching.
Okay, so let me just quickly jump in here. So when you say watching the numbers tick down, are you talking about from episode to episode, or are you talking about you're actually in the middle of a show watching? Okay, so you're watching people bail on your show in the middle of it.
Yep. And you know what you do? You stream harder. You say, okay, In my mind, I see a goose egg. I'm going to add a 10 in front of that and just go for it. Because this is how quickly it can change on a dime. You can actually see it in there's a section of my YouTube where it's called Greatest Hits, Guardian's Greatest Hits and Misses. And in there, you actually see a clip of the first time I ever got significantly rated. And what rate is where another streamer comes over after they've finished their stream and they bring their audience with them. October 2019, I'm doing a stream. Again, I've got a stream of maybe 20 people. My numbers jumped from 20 to 2,500. I was rated by a guy named Markiplier. He's one of the prominent people on YouTube. He's got like 25 million subscribers. And he was doing what was that night known as a reverse charity, where he would send his community to a random streamer doing a charity stream, and they would blow away their charity goal.
So how did that feel doing your stream and all of a sudden your numbers spike like off the charts?
How did that feel? At first I thought I was being punked. And then I realized it was legit. And then I started talking to people. I had to tweak it up even more. But I tell people the same energy that I bring to a stream of 2,500 is the same stream I bring to 25, which is the same energy that I bring for 2. Because you have to be dynamic when you're creating content.
Live streaming can, and in most cases, should play an important role in your business's marketing plan. But with so much at stake, you might be wondering, where do I begin? How do I get started with this? Can I know that live streaming will work for me?
To bring it back to the original question, what do I benefit from it? If you are really actively just putting yourself out there, opening it up for questions, and also have your own stuff prepared, it's magic when you suddenly have people in your stream say, well, I actually have a question about this. And then you are interacting with that person in real time. And that question may spark another question. And it may spark a third question. And then an entire conversation will be happening.
Back to the business owner who's got a following or the business owner who wants to podcast. As it relates to podcast, I've got a podcast, but I can make mistakes and we can edit that out. But if I'm live streaming, how do I set up? So if I wanted to start, I'm going to give this an honest effort. When I say an honest effort, okay. I don't believe in trying. I believe in, I go with this 110%.
Right. I
will either succeed or I will fail. One of those two things is going to happen. Right. But I don't just try it and say, well, I didn't get great results after, 2 tries. No, I go with this. I have made the decision because I think inherently I can add a lot of value to that. So how do I balance I know you can take your live stream and turn that into a podcast, but that could mess with my format of my podcast. My concern, this won't prevent me, but I need a workaround here. If I'm doing my podcast, how can I do a live stream? I couldn't use the live stream as my podcast because that will mess up the way I want to start doing my podcast. And I just started, like you mentioned earlier, hey, that's an unusual question. That's a deep question. Well, that's part of my new strategy and how I'm doing my podcast. And my numbers are reflecting, they're going up very, very quickly. I mean, I already had a really good show and I'm very thankful for that, but I'm going to give glory to God first. But if I want to live stream, how do I do that? And then at the same time, I could still edit that down, I guess. Right. And do my podcast the same way. That's possible. So
yes, that is possible. But here's how it works. So like hypothetical situation. If we were streaming this particular episode, if we were live streaming this episode, obviously I couldn't take back anything that could be said.
Right.
I could say to you, hey, would you mind editing that out? And that's fine. But the thing is, it's still out there. But if we had taken this current interview and had streamed it, I can't take any of that back.
Right.
And while some people would be offended at it, some other people would be like, this is some of the best, honest, raw content I've ever seen. And that's where the value comes in.
In addition to having a regular podcast for your business, you should consider adding a regularly scheduled live stream show as well. You can use the podcast to educate and entertain people in the marketplace, which, if done right, will help set you apart from most of the competition. And if you'll decide to start live streaming, you can create a vehicle that allows and facilitates engagement with ideal prospects within your niche. The live stream will increase the marketplace's trust for you and help prospects feel more confident so they can do business with you.
When people watch, for example, when my wife and I do our podcast and we stream it, we jokingly say to each other, yeah, I'm going to edit that out. And chances are it will get edited out. But we also do an after show where we kind of kick it back, and that never makes it in the final podcast. The extra content, that live element, is the value that you have when you're streaming your show. And then when you're done, you have that live show that goes out. But then the podcast is pretty much an edited, polished, spruced up version of the live show. And what we have seen, both of my currently active podcasts, Happy Hour from the Tower and the Shared Desk, they both follow formats. And we have a post show with the Shared Desk that is totally off the cuff, and we hang out for like an hour, like roughly an hour, and that's just extra content for the stream. The podcast itself is usually under an hour, and that's after we've edited out, taken out the stuff that we don't want, and things like that. There are even times where when you've got a live show and everything seems good, you can go back, listen to it, and go, I think this section is kind of a rambling. We can take that out. And I've done that with Happy Hour. Now with Happy Hour, we have the first half of the show. We have a break for sponsors. In the live stream, it's the recording of the first half, a little intermission show where it's just, where we're talking about just about anything for about half an hour. Then we do the last portion of the show, and then we have a post show, which is, again, off the cuff. And what we have found is that people really like not only being part of the live show, but then they can go back and they can listen to the recording. They can listen to the podcast and go, oh, right, I wanted to comment on this. And then that's why we have a voicemail. We have, we have listener feedback. We have all this different stuff. And that is the value that the live stream brings to it. The live stream is truly off the cuff. There's nothing you can do to edit it in real time. So you as the podcast host have to work even harder. And the guest also has to work even harder. That is also not only a very scary thing, but it's also one of the most thrilling things about it, because now there's that live interaction.
T, let me ask you this then. So I'm going to assume, let's say that I wanted to keep my podcast the way it is and I want to run with this new format I'm doing. Couldn't I come up with a live stream that's separate, but it's related to my show, my podcast, where it's like a segment of my podcast where we talk about, where I encourage people to come on, not necessarily my guests, but I can have people on my live stream who have listened to a particular podcast, any of my podcasts, and ask me specific questions. Kind of like, because I know instantly I would have people from my coaching group.
Right.
I could have those people on the live stream, and instead of me doing like Facebook Live with them, which is a form of a live stream, I guess. Yes?
Oh, it is. It is.
Yeah. I'm thinking as far as Twitch, because that's where we're going to go with this. There's no like one set way to do a live stream. So I could do like a spin-off of like Get Clients Now After Hours or something cool like that, couldn't I?
Absolutely. You can do whatever. That's the beautiful thing about streaming. You can do this however you want. And that's the beauty of it. When you set up a Twitch account and you got your OBS and everything set up and ready to go, the way you got to approach it is, this is my network channel. This is my CNN. This is my Fox News. This is my own network. And the programming that comes out of this channel is whatever I want. So if you wanted to do a Get Clients Now happy hour, and like at 5:00, you did a 1 hour show where it was like a feedback show with your clients, and you talk to them, through Twitch. Yeah, you could do that if you wanted to.
T, let me do this because I haven't done it yet, and I want to make sure that I do. Guys, listen, you're going to buy Podcasting for Dummies, and you're going to use it, and you're going to benefit and say, this helped me more than anything else that I've ever used with podcasting. It was worth multiples of the price of the book. And you're going to do the same with Twitch for Dummies. Now, I can't say that for Discord for Dummies because I haven't read that book yet. I was planning on it. I just didn't have the time. If you're considering live streaming, buy his book. It's a manual. It's not a book. It is a step-by-step, hold you by the hand, paint by numbers book. Do what he says in the book and live stream. This will be a resource that you will say is of such immense value that it's worth multiples of what you paid for the price of the book. I mean, a Kindle version of the book is like, what, $12-15? I mean, it's too cheap. You didn't charge enough, and I guess that's the publisher's call, not yours. But guys, buy these books, and if you can't say what I just said, for some reason or any reason you're unhappy with the book, which I can't imagine, email me at customerservice@kennewhouse.com, and I will reimburse you for the book. So I'm guaranteeing those two books, Podcasting for Dummies and Twitch for Dummies. I'm in the business to make a profit on purpose. I appreciate T's investment of his time coming on. But having said that, I would never guarantee a book had I not read the book first and gone through it Listen, guys, if you read a book, I don't care what kind of book it is, you don't get that time back. And so I value your time. I want to help you in your business. This is a resource you definitely want to invest in. If you're considering podcasting or if you want to do live streaming, I can say without question that my life has been changed by podcasting. This is something I love as much, probably more, I have to be honest. I loved more than anything else being a chiropractor. I loved it. I honestly think I love being a podcaster better. And I think I'm going to be able to say, hopefully, time will tell if I can say the same thing about live streaming. But T, let me ask you this question.
Yes.
So I got to have some sort of equipment. What kind of cash outlay, capital outlay am I looking at for like the basic live streaming equipment? Obviously, I have a webcam we're using right now because we're on video, but this is video on demand. Am I using the same kind of equipment? Do I need an app like Podbean or some of the other things that are out there? What are some of the things I need to live stream?
To live stream, you need a platform. And
Twitch.
the platform, Twitch, there's Facebook Live, there's Mixer. There's also one of the early adopters of this was Periscope and which also is known as Twitter Live.
Yeah.
But Twitch was the original. And provided you have an account on one of these, you're ready to go. You can actually use your smartphone, which I've done often. Now, after you get the platform, then you need the actual streaming software. And there are two that are out there. One is called OBS, which stands for Open Broadcaster Software, OBS. And then you've got Streamlabs. Now, Streamlabs is a free service, but there is also something called Streamlabs Prime. And the advantage of Streamlabs over OBS is that Streamlabs is an older version of OBS. That's the downside. The upside is that while OBS is a blank canvas and you can do any kind of creation for overlays and templates that you can come up with, Streamlabs actually has pre-formatted, pre-done, all the bells and whistles are taken care for you. It's just a matter of plug and play of different templates. You can find those in the Streamlabs app itself. It runs on both PC and Mac now. When I wrote Twitch for Dummies, it was only available for Windows. Now it's available on both PC and Mac. So that's your software to help you stream. Then there's all the hardware. If you've got a computer with a webcam, you are ready to go. Everything else, very much similar to podcasting. Everything else, the studio mic, the headphones, the mixer board, any of the extra add-ons is strictly up to you.
Right. Here are just a few examples of how you can use live streaming to drive sales and generate profit in your business. Number one, in addition to your free live stream, you can create special events with limited access that clients or prospects pay to attend. Number two, you can set up live coaching or advanced trainings on your streams where people pay to attend. Number three, you can set up a joint venture with other business owners and co-promote each other's businesses on your stream. Number four, you can create special deals or opportunities and sell your products and services during the live stream. One incredibly effective way to do this is by using what's called a flash sale. So just as blogging was all the rage a while back, and just as podcasting and video demand is right now, live streaming is quickly becoming one of the hottest and most effective ways to not only differentiate yourself, but to differentiate your business and to drive sales. The only limit on how you can use it is your creativity and your willingness to test it out for yourself. But remember, you're going to have to create content that people look forward to seeing, that people want, so that once you can build a loyal fan/client base, you need to make sure that you keep it. Because when it comes to live streaming and making money, your audience is your biggest asset.
You could invest easily $100 to $200, not counting a computer though. You can invest $100 to $200 and you can start streaming today. You could also invest $1,000 to $2,000 and have a super sweet setup. And when you watch these people who have the super sweet setups, the ones that have the drop-in sounds that I do, and the overlays and all the little bells and whistles, and some of the different things that you see me do on my stream, that is investment. And that's another thing about podcasting and streaming that they both share in common. Obviously, if you want some of the higher tech tools, then yeah, you're going to be paying for those higher tech tools. But you're only going to benefit from them if you give yourself that learning curve and you allow yourself to take it.
That would be something I would suggest. Don't jump into, especially considering the fact that, the economy, although it's coming back, it's not in the best shape right now.
We've got a ways to go. We still have ways to go.
And I trust the president we have now. I mean, he did it once, he'll do it again. I really do. But having said that, he's made it clear. T's made it very clear. We don't have to invest a boatload of money to make this work. I do think one of the reasons that I think people love live streaming so much, and when I say people, not the people who are doing the live streaming as much as the people who are watching the live streaming, people love live streaming so much because there's a lot more engagement. There's immediacy. There's a lot of it's more entertaining because they're involved in what's happening.
That's very much a part of it. It's very much a part of it. They feel like they are part of the experience.
So here's my last question. What's the one question, T, that I should have asked today that I didn't ask?
In all fairness, I can't think of a single question apart from how does Discord fit into all of this? And again, what I would say about that, currently on my website, because if you're starting from scratch, these are the 3 platforms you're going to want to know. Is Discord is a place where you can have like a private session with some of your most loyal listeners or your most loyal fans or watchers, and you can continue the discussion there. You can share different things there. Discord has become sort of the promotional platform for both podcasts and streams. So that's how Discord kind of fits into all of this stuff. And one thing all 3, podcast, Twitch, and Discord all share in common is that they're all tools on communication and how to communicate better and how to not only create new connections, but really nurture those connections and make them extremely worthwhile.
I would assume the best way to buy your books is on Amazon or on your website?
Both. You can buy, the difference is you can buy them from Amazon and they'll get to you quickly. They'll get to you nice and quick, no ifs, ands, or buts. If you order them from my website, they take a day or 2 longer to get to you because we're mailing them, obviously. But also, if you mail them, if you order them through us, they get autographed. And that's just not my books. Those are the books that I write with my wife, Pip Ballantyne. And you can actually reach that shop at my name, T Morris, TEMORRIS.com. And that's the best way to reach me there. And you'll notice when you get to my website, not only do I have a shop, but right next to that, there's a section called Create with T. And this is where you can hire me to help you out in putting together a social media strategy for your business, whether you want me to help you develop a podcast or a stream for your business, and how to set yourself up with the proper tools to really ramp up your communications plan. And all that is found on my website at tmorris.com.
Our objective with this podcast is to help you and your business stand out in the marketplace by crystallizing your messaging, marketing, and communications. On behalf of the whole Ken Newhouse team, thanks for listening.